Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Jabba.
I like it. Who pronounces foreign words better? I feel like I'm on equal playing field now because British people can't. Oh, well, English is from over here, which is fair. But yeah, Dr. Geoff Lindsay, love the channel. Seems like an awesome guy. The original link to the video from Dr. Geoff Lindsay, top of the description. If you haven't seen it yet, I'd recommend watching it first. And let's go. Pasta. 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 I say pasta.
Jabba.
Jabba. Oh, Jabba.
Jabba.
Fascinating.
When accents more or less agree on how to say something, it's usually only geeks like me who find the pronunciation interesting. But when accents differ, folks start wondering why. Some are convinced that one pronunciation is right, generally their own, and others are wrong. This seems to be especially the case when the variable word comes from another language, like these. So,
okay.
Who's
Jaguar, pasta, homage, Nike. Oh God, how do you say it? Jaguar, homage.
pronunciation is better? How would we decide? Let's get into that right now. When a word is borrowed, as we say, from another language, speakers don't generally try to pronounce it as a perfect clone of the original. Often we've never even heard it pronounced in the original language. Typically, we pronounce a loan word with the sounds of our own language. So the question becomes, which of our own sounds should we use? The most common approach is to nativize the word, by which I mean pronouncing it like similar words that are domestic to our own language, especially words that have a similar spelling. Across languages, there are countless examples of nativized borrowings. Spanish, for example, borrowed the word jersey and simply pronounces it the way those letters are pronounced in Spanish. Jersey. Russian doesn't have an H sound, and there's an established tradition of using Russian G instead. So, Gary Porter. Japanese doesn't have consonant combinations like these. So, to make a word Japanese, extra vowels get added.
McDonald.
That sounds so funny. McDonald.
Extra vowels get added.
McDonald.
McDonald. McDonald.
And famously, Coca-Cola is converted into actual Chinese words, meaning very roughly, tasty happy.
可口可乐,可口可乐.
English has been nativizing foreign words for centuries. Most English vocabulary is from other languages, and it hasn't generally been a priority to keep the pronunciations like those in the original languages. Choice, arrive, and develop came from French, but don't sound French, nor does Des Moines. Des
Moines. No, Des Moines. Oh my God. Oh no. What was I going to say?
Choice, arrive, and develop came from French, but
don't room. I got way too excited right there. Don't room and chamber just the Germanic and French words for, well, a room, but like a chamber sounds more like large, and but chamber, I don't know, but one is French, one's Germanic, and we associate French words more with like delicate or you know. Does that make sense?
Don't sound French, nor does Des Moines or any of the Versailles located in the US, or Bewley in Hampshire, England. Status and premium don't sound like Latin. Amarillo and San Pedro don't sound like Spanish. Chaos and Nike don't sound like Greek, still less Nike. IKEA doesn't sound like Swedish, and we don't bother copying the German sh in Einstein. But things can change over time, and sometimes words get denativized, changed back into something more like the original language. This word used to be fully nativized, Millen, like Macmillan, as in Shakespeare's "was Millen thrust from Milan." But in more modern English, we put the stress where it is in Italian, on the second syllable. I say Milan. As recently as the 1970s, the British English Pronouncing Dictionary was recommending the French city of Lyons, as well as Don Juan and Don Quixote. Nowadays, Brits generally say something more like Leon, Don Juan, and Don Quixote. American pronunciation guide.
I think that we are living through I think I lived through it. Like, I lived through the transition. I was born in 1993, and I remember growing up and not everyone had a cell phone. And then I also lived right through cell phones becoming huge and then smartphones becoming a thing. And I think that as we get further in time, will be looked back on in history as so insanely significant. I always say how instant communication was maybe the greatest invention of all time. What was it? The telegraph or something like that. Because of all the things that can happen when you don't know when it's about to happen. Well, with access to like how words are pronounced around the world, we're all talking to each other. We tend to use English as lingua franca, right? That tool that people have now that we didn't when I was born is insane. How much it makes us smarter and just more knowledgeable.
Guides from the 1940s.
I don't know about smarter, but definitely more knowledgeable.
Don Juan and Don Quixote. American pronunciation guides from the 1940s and 50s tell us that this word is homage, nativized like hostage.
Homage.
But more recently, Americans have tended to denativize it, turning it into homage, or something between the two, and many younger Brits are now copying this. So as you see, accents can differ in how they say loan words, or maybe disagree would be a better word. Some Americans find it funny, even bizarre, that Brits nativize Jaguar and Nicaragua, pronouncing them along the lines of coagulate. And Brits can be amused when some Americans nativize Adolf, paralleling Barbados and Adrian, or pronounce Iran and Iraq like Irene and irate. Iran, by the way, is given in Kenyan and not.
I always say Iran, Iraq, Iran, Iraq. Iran sounds a little strange. Iran, Iraq.
It's well-known pronouncing dictionary of American English. So, do some accents of English nativize less than others? Well, in the rest of this video, I'm going to look at some ways in which American English nativizes less than British English. But we'll see that avoiding native-style pronunciations doesn't always make them more like the originals. One well-known difference between...
I wonder if it's out of stubbornness or out of just the fact that we're a little bit more removed geographic, or just, from the origin of a lot of these words, which are from, a lot of them I feel like from European languages.
Doesn't always make them more like the originals. One well-known difference between American and British English is the stressing of words taken relatively recently from French. In many such words, American English uses a stress pattern reflecting the final phrase accent of French, like salon, café, massage, Renault, Poirot, etc. Brits mostly nativize the stress: salon, café, massage, Renault, Poirot, etc. Of course, there are exceptions. We have words where both accents nativize. So the FBI is not a bureau, and Brits do...
See, like, if I'm going to do the most simple native of this, it would be Poirot, Renault, massage, or massagi, Hafe, Salon.
Sure. Of course, there are exceptions. We have words where both accents nativize. So the FBI is not a bureau, and Brits do sometimes have final stress, like in bizarre, and moustache, where it's the Americans who nativize more: mustache.
Fascinating.
But the...
Well, you kind of do like beauty, EAU, bureau. Oh, wait, no. Not bureau, bureau. EAU. Bureau? Bureau.
Brits do sometimes have final stress, like in bizarre, and moustache, where it's the Americans who nativize more: mustache.
Fascinating.
But the main difference I want to look at here is in the vowels. Over 30 years ago, I wrote an article discussing a particular strategy that American English has evolved to deal with foreign words. This is a tendency to use 5 tense vowels, even for spellings that in native words would not typically be pronounced with these vowels. For example, look at these native words.
Classic
Brits,
wedding.
like me, tend to use the same vowels in corresponding loan words. So, plastic, pasta, wedding.
Oh, pasta. See, when I say the British way, it sounds like more American, like Family Guy type, like pasta. Pedro, Nissan, Baroque, Buddha, pudding, clock, missing, wedding, plastic, plastic, wading.
Pedro, missing, Nissan, a clock, Baroque, pudding, Buddha. Now, the American tendency is to use in the loan words the 5 tense vowels that are free to occur on the end of words like ma, may, me, mo, moo. So, pasta, Pedro, Nissan, Baroque, Buddha, and
Oh, he's good.
Datsun.
He is good.
Pasta, Pedro, Nissan, Baroque, Buddha. So, pasta, Pedro, Nissan, Baroque, Buddha.
It's almost insulting how good he is at American accent.
And Datsun and Milan and kebab and Ariana Grande. Similarly, jalapeno and
Jalapeno?
Cadiz and the Nikkei Index and yogurt and Chipotle.
Yogurt.
And Gustav and Gupta and even Boons, German government bonds. Now, it's a tendency, not an absolute rule. It applies mainly to stressed vowels, and it's more common with some vowels than others, especially those written with the letter A. And not all speakers apply it equally. But I think it's fair to say that most Americans would pronounce most of those words like that, and very few Brits would. Now, to many Americans, this may not seem like a strategy at all. It may just seem like pronouncing these words right, more accurately than, say, Brits with my kind of accent. But how true is this? Americans may be right that Italian pasta is closer to their vowel in father than to their vowel in plastic. But my vowel in plastic isn't so far from the Italian vowel. I recorded a bunch of Americans and Brits saying this word and measured what we call the formants of the first vowel. As is to be expected, the individual speakers display a range of qualities, but the two groups are clearly different, almost no overlap. Now here, saying the same word, are some authentic Italians. At least in these measurements, the Italians are on average a tad nearer to the Americans, but broadly speaking, they're kind of in the middle.
Fascinating.
Love the Spock quotes. It seems like what is the mathematical graphical term for that, where the bullet points are more spread apart? So it's you got a lot of British in the Italian zone, but a lot out. So
Broadly speaking,
standard deviation. Math. I was good at math, actually. The thing about math, okay, is that math is, to me, it's like if you miss a math class, some might completely agree, by the way, but if you missed a math class, like if I missed a math class, I felt so much more lost the next class than I would be in any other class if I missed a day, if that makes sense. I'm
they're
off topic.
kind of in the middle.
Fascinating.
Now, not all languages have an A vowel like that of Italian and Spanish, but the American 5-vowel strategy is one size fits all. So the pasta vowel gets used in Vietnam. But now listen to these Vietnamese speakers.
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
The Vietnamese language is so distinct. Like, like the clicking languages, well, in some clicking languages in Africa, the like and Vietnamese, where they have listen, Vietnam, like super strong stop, like I feel like I didn't, that was gibberish. but it's such a unique sounding. Unique means one of a kind, okay? And I know, so it's not one of, but the southeastern Malay, Cambodian, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, such a cool language, sounding language. Sorry, cool sounding to me.
Vietnam.
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 To my ear,
Vietnam.
the vowel in plastic, even American plastic, would be closer to that than the vowel in American father and pastor. And many languages have more than 5 vowels, so using just 5 American vowels is going to mean losing distinctions. Take these 2 composers. German has 4 vowels here, 2 short and 2 long. Franz Schubert and Gustav Mahler. My British pronunciation also has 2 short and 2 long. Franz Schubert and Gustav Mahler. But if you put the same American vowel into France and Mahler, and the same American
Screw you, man. Fair.
vowel,
Not fair, but just well done.
same American vowel into France and Mahler, and the
Mahler. He does an American accent better than I do.
same American vowel into Schubert and Gustav, you've obliterated the contrasts. It's the
That
same
makes sense,
with
actually.
French Baroque and Renaud, which have different vowels. The American one-size-fits-all strategy puts the same vowel in both.
Guys, I got the new. It's the roll R sound is the only sound that I just can't. Ramos. Ooh, that was pretty good. But I always have like a spit sound in the back, like it's not like that soft like that like you hear in like Spanish or something where they have that beautiful, perfect rolled R. And it was always something that like I remember like my friends being able to do it. So I don't think it's it's definitely not in like an English people have it difficult. It's just that I do. Like Ramos. It's like, why is it that when I try to roll my R, there's always like a pause in between the sound I'm trying to make and the R. So like Ramos.
Baroque and Renaud. And many speakers use it for a third French vowel, as in Macron.
President Macron, Mrs. Macron.
British Baroque and Renaud are hardly digital copies of the French, but at least the vowel distinction survives. General American simply lacks the historic short O sound that survives in my kind of accent in clock and baroque, and in bond and doctor and Potter. In fact, it's not obvious to me which is closer to Harry Potter, the Russian Gary Potter, or the American
Gary Potter. What?
Harry Potter. And the strategy is some Gary Potter, or the American Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
And the strategy is sometimes used inconsistently, even
Hermione.
with a word. Take jaguar. It starts completely nativized, like in jagged, and halfway through it does a sharp turn,
Jaguar.
denativizes and becomes Spanish, or Italian, as in LaGuardia. The word
Jagged is a great word. Jagged. I like it.
actually from Portuguese.
Esse é jaguar. Esse é jaguar.
So we might have expected American jaguar, especially considering
Jaguar.
Americans' fondness for giving loan words final stress and the consonant je, regardless of the original language, as in Maharaja, Xi Jinping, and Parmesan.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Xi
Now, if my
Jinping.
old article is right, and the American 5-vowel strategy or tendency is real, how and why did it arise? And is it a good thing? A major factor surely is America's melting pot culture and the need to cope with a mass of foreign words. A glance at the end credits of American films or TV shows reveals a smorgasbord or schmorgasbord of family names from around the world. Many Americans have to deal with this.
Flores, Gladding, Hammond, Judson, Kayama, Wong, Lavender, Lowe, Ortiz, Sasaki,
Smorgasbord of family names from around the world. Many Americans have to deal with this variety in their daily lives. So a general strategy is efficient. And a strategy that signals foreignness by being distinct from domestic pronunciations is, so to speak, phonetically woke. It shows you're making an effort.
A fascinating cultural development.
And the
I'm not gonna lie, guys. It kind of annoys me when people like take the word Latina, right? It kind of annoys me when I'm not saying that you have to do like Latina, like you don't have to say Latina, like it's different. But when like you speak a perfectly American accent, and then like, oh yeah, I went over there. Latina was, and there were, I went over Latina, like or it's annoying. It's presumption. It's just like, okay, like you were just speaking fine. Just say Latina. You're not Latina. Like they have to put like a Spanish twist on it, right? When I was going Latina, I don't know how to use Latina in a sentence without sounding offensive. I was going down to the pool and there was a Latina there. Like, I don't know. That's why I'm not doing a sentence. You know what I'm talking about? No? Am I just moron?
prototypical foreign language in the US is, of course, Spanish. When America declared independence, most of the present USA was Spanish. And today, over 40 million Americans use Spanish at home.
That's
so
like
the
California,
prototypical
jeez.
foreign vowel system has
41 million.
5 vowels. Now,
Like 41 Rhode Island.
so the prototypical foreign vowel system has 5 vowels. Now, thanks to the loss of the Potter vowel, General American lacks the neat set of 5 short or checked vowels that survive in southern Britain and Australia, but Gen Am does have those 5 tense free vowels, as in ma, me, mo, mu, which map nicely onto the 5 vowels of both spelling and Spanish. Britain, by contrast, isn't a melting pot to anything like the same degree. British end credits present a much narrower diet. The foreign language that Brits are most familiar with is French.
I was about to say, but I'm thinking of London. So London isn't all of the UK. But I'd say London is as much of a diverse city as New York City probably is.
Present a much narrower diet. The foreign language that Brits are most familiar with is French, and French, like English, has a large and complex vowel system. The result is that Brits are more likely to do the usual thing with foreign words, which is to nativize them, or else to be relatively ad hoc and inconsistent. Brits certainly aren't immersed in Spanish. The only place here with a Spanish name that I can think of off the top of my head is Trafalgar Square. Let me know if I'm forgetting others. Little wonder that this online questioner had no idea why Americans would put a W in Jaguar. And Mexican cuisine is still a relative novelty here.
Jack, over to you. You do this jalapeno, brother.
Like guacamole. Like guacamole, jaguar. Guacamole, guar, guamole.
Jalapeno, right, used to make chipolate, is that what that says? Chipotle. That's what it says.
So, whose pronunciation is better? Do you think it's ignorant or lazy to nativize words like jaguar and jalapeno?
Absolutely not.
Or to half nativize them like jaguar? Do you think the 5-vowel strategy is ingenious in a melting?
Just think, this is how I think. Like, would you be offended if an English term was being used in another country in not the perfect sounding English way or close to it? No. I feel like that'd be kind of crazy. So what?
Melting pot culture? Or is it just imposing pseudo-Spanish on everyone? Or maybe you don't believe this strategy exists at all?
That's right. That's right. You said it right there.
Imposing pseudo-Spanish on everyone.
It reminds me of the Onion video of patriotic American teen flunk Spanish on purpose or something. He's like, I'm not learning that.
Or maybe you don't believe this strategy exists at all. I'd love to know what you think. Certainly for a pronunciation geek like me, all these pronunciations are...
Don't say it's fascinating.
You're awesome, Dr. Gia.
But it is interesting.
Thanks for watching. Click here to subscribe. Oh my god, I actually Nice. All right, guys. Love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. And I'd appreciate any comments, any answers to my questions, any comments in general. Would really love to see it. And I will see you guys next video. Bye, guys.